Is all the manifest stuff hype? You've watched the movies, you've read the books, you've gone to the workshops, you've made the dream boards. So where is it? I have a secret. And if you want to know, stay tuned. You're live with Missy Gifford from Aroma Freedom Clinic, and this is our Friday podcast. You'll want to stay to the end because we always have a special at the end. But what we do have that is special today is a special guest. We have my gorgeous, he's gonna love to touch his hair, son, Preston Gifford here, who is a YouTube influencer. I can't talk today. But I swear I have had nothing to drink. Who is a YouTube influencer and just got sponsored. So high five, Preston. High five. And thank you for coming on the show today, where we are talking about manifestation and all this stuff that's going on out there in regards to it. So the reason why we wanted to bring this up today is because only 1% of our population is living the dream. That's 1%, Preston. 1% of the population is living the dream. Although they make it sound so simple that you can just manifest what it is you want to create, because we are the energy of creation. So we are constantly manifesting. Well, I got to tell you, when I was depressed and I read a quote that said, what you're thinking, you're creating, it's horrible. And I got to be honest, Preston, I'm going to probably not make a few. I swear I haven't had anything to drink. Is that, I'm just going to shoot it straight. If 1% of the population is living the dream and manifestation and all this that came through with a certain movie back in the early 2000s, and since then, so many people have gone to so many workshops, done so many things, yet it still is only the 1% that's living that dream. So what's going on there? I'll tell you what's going on. It reminds me of the dieting world, and I've been a health and fitness guru for 35, 40 years, where I built $1 million business. So I do have a little bit of clout in that area. And I got to tell you, all this manifesting stuff is true on one level. Don't get me wrong. On one level, it is true, but it is also BS because you're not getting the whole story. It's kind of like the dieting world, which is a $1 billion industry, and it's crap. It's just crap. Americans are bigger, fatter, more disease, on more drugs than ever before. And that was before COVID. Now that COVID's hit, it's even worse. So the dieting industry doesn't work. We proved that. I was, like I said, for 35 years, I preached that if you want to change your lifestyle, then you've got to go to the energy that created your current lifestyle. Just like if you want to change your state of mind, then I'm sorry, positive thinking isn't going to do it for you. They've proven it. Positive thinking, you know what it does? It hits the outer cortex. They do it in addiction centers. And guess what happens when that person relapses and goes into implicit memory? They go right back because the stuff they did was crap. It doesn't work. So dieting doesn't work. All of that stuff doesn't work. We're still going on the outside of us. The answer to this is inside of you. If you want to change something, say you want to change your state of mind, then you've got to go to that which created your state of mind. Come on, people. We've been on the outside for too many years, and it doesn't change anything. You can go to every single freaking workshop there is. You can buy all the tapes. You can listen to all the CDs. You can, unless you're a computer, it's not going to work. You want to know why? It's called your unconscious. It's called implicit memory. We all have it. If you grew up in poverty, you're going to have to do the inner work to get rid of the memories of poverty and that energy. If you want to match the frequency to have a fulfilled life, which is what life is all about, isn't it? Instead of making millions of dollars, which is what all that manifestation is, it makes it sound like shit's just going to fall from the freaking sky. Yeah, I'm a little bit passionate. You want to know why? Because I fell for it myself back in 2007 and lost everything. You know what? It didn't fall from the sky. I meditated every day. I did everything they were supposed to do, but it didn't work. Why? Because there's more to it. There is so much more to it. Yes, on one level, it's true. And that's, but what about all this stuff here? All this stuff here, which were all the conditions, all the things, when you're born, you're supposed to be born and have a vision and have a great life. Well, that's a perfect world, and most of us don't. What happens to us is it gets beaten out of us, taken out of us. We see poverty, we see all these horrid things, and all of these things are what condition our belief system. Your belief system is in your unconscious, my friends. Let me say it again. It's in your unconscious. So you can't just go, oh, come on up. No, you are 10% conscious, 90% unconscious. And that's where your beliefs are. And that's why it doesn't work. And why am I so passionate about it? Because people are killing themselves. People are depressed. People are doing all these things. And the number one person that is going to buy into that are children of trauma. There are now adults, because I'll tell you why. Because when you go through trauma, you learn to fantasize. You have a really big imagination, and you begin to believe in all kinds of superficial things. And so you're the perfect target for do these things and it'll just happen. And it gives you a high. But I've seen too many lives destroyed. Too many of them, because then it beats up on you as to why it doesn't work. And I will say it again. If it worked, why is the 1% still only the 1%?
Personally, for me, because, I grew up with, you and Dad. And so I saw you go through the meditation and all that, and saw how, it's mentally, it can help you. And I do think that there is some idea of visualizing what you want. That way you're able to, think about it and have a calculated risk is what I think a lot of people need to change what they're talking about and everything, instead of, oh, I'm going to manifest this wonderful, beautiful thing, and I'm going to yield it into creation and all that. Like I've used those terms myself, but really it all comes down to actually taking action. I mean, it's not magic, it's called putting in the work and getting it done. And I guess manifesting to me is more of like visualization. So like, yeah, if like you want to, before you go play basketball, right, you're about to have like this big NBA championship. Yeah, a lot of the people, what do? They sit and they visualize. Well, is it the visualization that makes them play well because it's this magical thing, or is it just that they anchored themselves for a second and then put the work in?
I like that, Preston. I like that.
And that's what I feel like a lot of people forget, is that it's like, because on TikTok there's a trend, and it's the manifesting trend, and and it's really kind of putting a bad taste in people's mouth, because it's becoming, TikTok, love it or hate it, #1 app in the world right now. Trends on TikTok, love it or hate it, they pop off, and one of the trends is manifest. And I remember I was hanging out with some friends before we moved here, and they were joking around like, oh, just manifest it, just manifest it. And I was like, what's that? And there's a trend, and people now, they're like, oh yeah, and all these young kids they're just going to sit, make a TikTok, and I'm going to manifest this, and they're going to just sit and think about it over and over, and they think they think that's going to work. And that's what I wanted to come on just to say, is that it's a lot of it comes down to action. Like, like that example with the NBA player, really it just gets you to just sit and realize what you're about to do, and it just has you breathe for a second.
Thank you. And it gives a direction, because your mind is really just a navigation system. If we used our mind for what it truly is, it's a navigation system, and it needs to know where to go. That's why when people are born, if you don't have a vision and then you're going to be living somebody else's life. That is true. If you don't have a vision and you don't have goals and you're not working towards that, then you are seriously going to live somebody else's life. So, yes, it's important. But what's more important is this, and this is so, so true. You've got to have goals in life, number one, things that you aspire for because of how they make you feel. The most important thing is how you feel. It's not how you look. It's not where you live. It's not money. It's not any of that. And if you look around and anchor yourself enough to get out of the tunnel vision, you'll find that people have already shown us that. Jim Carrey showed us, had all the money in the world, still dealt with depression, all that implicit memory that Aroma Freedom Clinic works on and gets rid of. And so what you need is you need a goal, you need a vision, you need a direction. If not, you're just getting up every day and you're not going anywhere. So there are two reasons why people fail in business. And this is true. Number one, doubt. They doubt themselves, and so they stop or they quit, right? And then the second reason why is because there's something else that they need, whether they need to be going in this direction or whether they need to take a class or whether they need to contact this person. But the reason why they're not getting the guidance is because there's one thing they're not doing every single day. And that is when you are creating anything, you have to check in with how you feel about that creation every single day. You notice that everything I'm talking about is not on a board out in front of you, it's inside of you. So I'm building Aroma Freedom Clinic. Every single day I wake up and go, how do I feel about that today? How am I feeling motivated? Am I feeling this? Am I feeling that? And I'm asking a lot of questions. So I'm not going to just, am I feeling motivated? Oh yeah, let's go. No, how am I feel the business is doing? Do I feel like I'm heading in the direction I want to? And some days the answer is no. I don't feel motivated. I don't even know why I'm doing this. And so what happens is I go in and do an aroma freedom technique session on myself, and it allows me to release all kinds of things I didn't even know were there. Doubt, fear, worry, the negative voice. Hey, the negative voice is telling you you need aroma freedom technique. Let me tell you something. Negative energies turn into a negative voice. So let me say it again. You need to have a goal, a direction. Your mind is a navigation system, so you do have to give it a direction. And visualization is wonderful. If you looked around my office, you'd see I have a timeline over there, which Preston created for me. I have all kinds of things over there, but I don't call them vision boards. I don't sit and daydream at them because I don't create things like, I don't have a home I want to live in or this or that. No, I have the feeling of fulfillment that I want to have in my life. That is what I'm after. So once again, yes, you do need a goal. You do need a direction, like Preston said. You do need to anchor yourself. And that is by going to feeling. How am I feeling today about my goal, what I'm going for? And then is there doubt? And you have to be really, really honest with yourself. And I think when you get caught up and all this manifestation stuff, you're not honest with yourself because you're caught up in the hype that because you're made of the energy of creation, true, and that you are a big manifestation machine, true. But also remember, you're only 10% conscious of what you're manifesting. So people really need to be gain more knowledge and understanding about it's the 90% of you that's creating. Anybody that keeps up on neuroscience will tell you if I have a panic attack right here in this moment, it's not because of what's happening around me. It's because of what happened to me before and something in front of me triggered it. So we need to be really honest about who and what is creating. And then we need to be really honest about how we are feeling so that we can get these things out of our way. If you grew up in poverty, if you grew up in trauma, if you grew up in these things, they don't go away. Somebody gave me a book, what was it? Live Feelings Never Die. I believe that's what it's called. And it's true. it's true. These are the things that are in your way. So these are the things you want to be taken care of. An aroma freedom technique is at the top of the list now when it comes to healing. It is at the top of the list. We had talk therapy, psychotherapy, which works wonderful, by the way, with aroma freedom technique. And then you had NLP, which was awesome, and EMDR, and there's another one I'm missing. But in the psychotherapy world, it just kept building from Freud. I mean, they literally built on top of each other, just greater and greater and greater and greater and greater and greater ways for us to heal, because every single person has trauma. Being born is traumatic. And it is these things that are in our way. These are the things you have to address. So don't fall for it. It's like I said, it's like falling for the hype of all the billion-dollar industry of diets out there. When I help people lose weight, I go to AFT. I go to the reason why they got themselves into that. I shouldn't say they got themselves into that, but why and what is in their unconscious that got them into that lifestyle. Because you cannot change a lifestyle without going to the energy that created it. You cannot change a mindset without going to the energy that created it. So I'm going to say it again because it's starting to boil my blood, only because of the depression and the suicide I'm seeing, because people feel horrible. The negative voices are getting louder and louder and louder. And that's because you feel inadequate. We judge what we don't understand. I'll say it again. We judge what we don't understand. And if I could give you something, it would be when you hear that negative voice, call Aroma Freedom Clinic, because the negative voice is just a negative energy talking at you. It's not you, it's talking at you. And it's telling you it wants out. And if we really were raised with that perception, wouldn't life be a lot different? It would be completely different. Don't you agree, Preston?
Yeah.
And doing the work and going back to the feeling and really understanding that life is about feeling fulfilled when you're older, anchoring yourself. What's going on inside of me today? Have goals. You have to have goals. If you don't, like I said, then you are living somebody else's life. As I always say, your future is only limited by what you cannot see. What I mean is, your future is only limited by the undigested, unprocessed, implicit memory that you cannot see because it's in your unconscious, but it's affecting your everyday life. Implicit memory is what is preventing you from fulfilling all those goals and all those desires. Dr. Ben Perkis is the only doctor that I know of that has created a way to extract, and I mean extract, implicit memory. And I'm not talking about one memory. No, your brain stores stuff in it's like a ball of yarn. We get the whole thing. We just extract the whole thing right out of there and replace it with a positive, and it changes everything. Your health, your wealth, your happiness, your perception of reality, who you are, how happy you can feel. So that's what we should be aiming for, because that is real, concrete, and it works. All right, Preston.
Yeah, so something I wanted to go into, it might be a bit of a shift of gears kind of back into the manifesting idea and everything, and how I think that the reason why people get caught up in this, in the energy of it, and like they're not like actually taking any action, is because there's like, I feel like there's like three parts to a goal. There's the very beginning, which is like when like that fire is first lit, like you have like the idea, or like you set the goal, right? And I call that like the motivated phase. And personally, I am through with motivation. We have a divorce now. It's over. It's BS. Discipline is more important than motivation. But because I was motivated for many years and didn't do anything. So the first step is you get this motivated phase, and it's good because it's the spark. If you use it right then in that moment, that's what it's there for. It's a rush of like serotonin, dopamine, like you just feel really good, like you feel awesome. It's just rush of these chemicals in your brain, and you're motivated. There's chills, you're happy, you can like stay up all night, and it's awesome. But it only lasts, I'd say, maybe like a few days. Some it lasts a long time, but for most, it's just going to be right there, and that's because you're supposed to take action when that hits, because any action that you take when you're in that energy, it's going to be fun. You know, it's like a new job or anything. You know, it's the very same sensation to like something that's new because it's a new feeling. And so there's the motivated phase. Well, then after that, that motivation eventually runs out. It becomes normal. And that's the work phase. And that's where nobody goes, because in between the motivated phase and the goal is the work phase. And that's what I feel like nobody does, because the manifestation phase is the motivated phase. And that's what they get convoluted, is that you're like, oh God, I'm going to manifest this. And you feel the motivation, right? You're like, I'm manifesting it. Well, if you're not working to get, then it's not going to happen. And so that's what I just wanted to mention, is that it's just really common, is that people, they stay in that motivated phase. It feels so good. You're watching all these videos, you're going on these motivational walks, you're calling friends, saying what you're going to do, talking about what you're going to do, and here's how you're going to do it. And then when it's time to actually take action, you go, ooh, that doesn't feel the same. It feels different. I don't feel motivated anymore. And it's like, well, yeah, because now it's time to work. And work isn't always fun, but it's addicting, because whenever I have to do like a long workout, or I have to do something that like I've been doing over and over and over again, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. Like if I watch a video, then yeah, I'm excited, but it's discipline, because I think about the end goal, just like people need to remember their end goal. I'm going to the gym to work out because the end goal, after I get motivated and put in the work, is bigger muscles, healthier, longer life, more confidence. But really, it's that euphoric feeling. So that same idea of just going to the gym with the goal in mind can be applied to if you want to get a new job, if you want to go talk to that person at the bar, if you want to, talk to a family member who you haven't talked to in years and you're nervous, like that can go for anything. But it's just far too often, because it feels good, everybody just stays in the motivated phase, and motivated phase is BS. It's not about motivation anymore. It used to be. Back in like 2016, it was like motivation. Now I'm like, hell no, discipline. But to build that discipline, you have to get through the motivated phase and put in the work and make a routine. Otherwise, you won't even have it.
That's right, Preston. And that leads me into Aroma Freedom Clinic and Aroma Freedom Techniques, because as you get older, what happens with us, what you said is brilliant and is right on. As you get older, you get so much baggage and so many things piled on you, having a family, having kids, having stress, having all of this, that implicit memory that I've been talking about gets pushed on, and life gets too heavy. And then you've got 1.5 million different reasons why you can't do it. I just did a session on a young athlete from Nike, mom that felt guilty spending time taking care of herself, just going to work out. And we're going to do a series of 10 sessions now. But after one session, she's been in the gym every day for 2 weeks now. And what you said, action. This is really, 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 really important. And so many people forget about this. And that is, action has energy behind it. And believe it or not, when you write something, there is actually energy there. And so having these affirmations that we give people in Aroma Freedom Clinic, because after we clear a memory complex and we reconsolidate it, we get down to an affirmation. And you do this affirmation in the morning and you do it at night. Now, this affirmation came from your unconscious. So this is not just some positive thinking quote. This is actually an affirmation that is changing the chemical structure in your brain into a positive one. And there's another tool we use that goes along with it, that is one of the tools that we use. Anyway, but by breathing, I mean by, here we go again, by speaking, trying, by setting up what it is you're after to create. It was kind of like when Aroma Freedom Clinic came through me. Do you know when Aroma Freedom Clinic came from a thought to an actual form was, I believe, 6 weeks. Yes.
You didn't just sit in it.
I took action. And
well, sorry, I'm going to interrupt, but I knew you took action because I didn't know what the hell you were doing for 6 weeks. That's how you know somebody's not.
I wasn't talking about
motivated phase.
No,
she was just did it, and like 6 weeks later, she's like, "I have this and this," and I'm like, "What? Where did this come from?" And that's how you know that somebody is taking action because they're not talking about it; they're just doing it. So,
that's absolutely right. Thank you, Preston.
I had no idea. 6 weeks in, I have company. What?
That's very true. There was no talking. There was no need to talk. It's time to take action. And by taking action, also what you were doing by reading these affirmations, and affirmations when you do AFT are going to last 3 days. You're going to do them morning and night. But what that is also doing is reinforcing that energy. Do you understand? So you're going right back in to that positive energy that we created. And by having the affirmations, it just keeps the ball rolling. And by asking yourself and being honest every day, how do I feel today? How do I feel? Then you can get in underneath the hood and work on those things. So I don't think we need to use the word manifestation anymore. I think the word should be feel. Aroma Freedom Technique. I will spend my life getting that out there because it's the only thing out there that actually gets rid of these memory complexes. Feel, number one. Have a goal. Have a direction where your mind knows it's going, so you're not getting in your car and just driving in a circle. Follow through. Take care of all that doubt. AFT, once again, let's get rid of that doubt. Let's get rid of that negative voice when it comes up. And that, my friend, is how you create the authentic you. Now, the authentic you, what is that? We don't know yet because you haven't created it. And that's what makes it so beautiful, because the authentic you may not be a $3 million home looking over the Riviera. It may not be a Ferrari. These may be things that you were programmed since birth to have, maybe because you were poor. Who knows what the authentic you is? Because you haven't become that person. And when you change your perception of life, and you can with AFT, because we can get rid of the things that covered you up. Because when you were born, you came wired in with a vision. That's what I call it. I go, and then life happens. You have religion, tradition, politics, act this way, don't do this, do that. This is a good person, this is a bad person. And then you go through all these things where your emotional needs aren't met. And all this stuff just starts putting swords, until before you know it, that vision that you came in with, it's buried down so deep that you don't even remember. You get a job just because it'll pay the bills and it pays well. You do that. We know the story. But don't fall for the fads anymore. Don't fall for it. It doesn't work. Like I said, we proved it. 1% live in that dream. If all those manifestation things they say worked, then why isn't it 20 or 30% by now? And it's because they're not telling you that you have to address what's underneath the hood. You have to take action, and everything is inside. It's not out here. Yes, I have a timeline over there, reminds me of the things I've done, so that if I start to think, okay, I'm not getting anything done, I have my huge goals, And then I have it brought down into the smaller goals, the steps I can take, baby steps. What's the smallest step I can take today, moving in that direction? And continuing to have those affirmations on how you feel, getting rid of the doubt, getting rid of all that unconscious stuff. That's what our life is about, is freeing ourselves from our unconscious past that we can't feel anymore, but it's proven is creating your health, your happiness, what you see in the world, what you see. That's huge. The only way we're going to make a difference is going inside, because that's where it's all happening. I'm done.
I have something that I can bring up.
Sure. I mean, you are on this podcast with me for a reason.
Oh, I know. I'm just waiting to get in.
Oh, you're just waiting to get a word in.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying I'm talking too much. Yeah. You think I'm talking too much? Just waiting to get a word in?
Wait, I'm just waiting to get in. You know.
Take it.
I don't want to interrupt you because I don't want to. You're speaking gold, so I don't want to interrupt you. But you know, I'm like, I'm ready to get in.
You know, go for it, Preston. You got the floor.
So to kind of go off of what I was saying earlier, you know, like take action, you know, all that, and don't stay in the motivated phase. Well, another thing that I have personal experience with, that if you're not careful, then you will need AFT. And it's kind of like, you know, obviously AFT is the tool and it is the solution, you know, like it's the fixer, right? But why get broken in the first place, right? So it's not to rely on it like, oh, I'll just do this because, you know, at the end of the day, I can just go and have it AFT. No, it's a tool. You don't want to rely on it necessarily, right? So what I mean by that is, if you're not careful when you say are in that motivated phase, right? And you have the motivation, but you don't do it. Going off of what you were saying about being honest, right? Another thing about being honest is be honest with yourself. If you're not going to do anything, then just shut up and move on. Because if not, and if you say I'm gonna be this, right, and you keep thinking about it, you're in the motivated phase, but you don't take any action. Eventually, that implicit memory stacks, and you're working against yourself. And then you'll end up like me with my YouTube channel, where for a year and a half I said, I'm a YouTuber. This is what I do, and I did nothing for a year and a half, and I had 6 months of stuff to clean up when we got here in AFT because I worked against myself for a year and a half. So be honest with yourself, okay? If I was just honest with myself, like I was a few times, there was one moment where I just said, you know what? I'm not doing anything. I'm waking up every day saying I should be doing this, I should be doing that, because I'm a YouTuber, even though I wasn't uploading at all. That stacks, because every day you wake up and you feel like you should be doing that thing and you don't, and then you go to bed thinking it. That's 365 just over and over and over and over and over and over. That's a lot of implicit self-judgment and doubt and self-sabotage that stacks on you. And I needed to do a lot of AFT on it, because now I have a channel that is working and I am doing work on it. But as we talked about, you know, on the first podcast, with my experience of AFT, that's what a lot of it was cleaning up all the stuff that I just didn't, all those years of just not doing it, staying in that fun, feel good, high, motivated dopamine phase, because it's so much fun to just sit and think about it. So to kind of go back to what I was saying, is that just be honest with yourself. Okay. There was a point before we moved, when I spoke about this also on one of my own live streams, about where I took a whole I think maybe 4 months off during that year period, and it was the best for me ever, because I just said, forget it, I'm not doing it. And I was so much more mentally healthier when I finally was honest and went, why are you waking up every day like preaching that you're this thing and telling yourself that you're this thing, when in the end you feel worse because you're not being it. You're just waking up saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna post a video. But we all know you're not gonna post a video. We all know you're not gonna do that. Like, don't say that to make yourself feel better. You know what I mean? So that's what I wanted to say, is just, if you are in that phase, be careful, because it's like your vial fills up, and when it's full, then you'll start to resent that one thing that you loved, and that in the beginning was a motivated, cool idea that you loved, and it was fun because you were actually taking action. But then after many years of not working on it and just beating yourself up because you're not, but you still want to be that thing, that vial fills up, and then that's when AFT comes in. So, obviously don't rely on it and be like, oh, I can let it fill up because I just go get AFT and then we're all good. It's like, that's not what AFT is for. Okay. So you don't go jump off a cliff because they can just fix your leg. Don't do that. So don't do that. Right. Learn and know that you do have a limit of what that your emotional state can take, until eventually you will take a toll on your mental state, and you will begin to resent that one thing that you love. So be honest. If you're going to do something, do it right then, because the longer you wait, the bigger that motivated phase gets, right? So it's like you have motivated phase, work phase, and the goal is tiny, right? Tiny. The motivated phase actually is really small too. And then the work phase is in the middle. And that's like the long stretch, right? If there's like 3 different parts to this line, well, the longer you don't take action, that motivated phase gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, your motivated phase is literally this long. Your work phase is even longer, and your goal is all the way down there. Tiny, tiny little goal. So what I'm saying is, be honest, close the distance. Okay, the shorter the motivated phase, the shorter the overall time frame until you reach that goal is. You feel that energy? It's like boom.
So what he's talking is actually very true. I used to say this to people years and years and years ago, that you talk about writing your book. I'm going to write my 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 book. You know what? By the time it's time to write your book, there's no more energy left to write your book.
Yeah.
It's gone. And you're not meeting your emotional needs. So you get up every morning and you say, I'm going to go to the gym today and I'm going to work out. So by the time you get in bed that night, what do you think you've done now? You've created an implicit memory because your emotional needs weren't met. Mm-hmm. And it's just start stacking, and then you're judging yourself more. I'm a loser. And that negative voice, I'm telling you, yes, it is a sign to come and do some AFT. Because at first it's just an energy that's in your unconscious. And then once that energy takes a form, that's the voice. And now that voice has taken form, it's stopping you. Okay.
You begin to resent it.
Well, I was going to say something that rhymed, but you'd think I was corny. Now that negative voice has taken form, it's going to stop you from taking the form you want.
Well, on another note, I think it's really cool, and I just wanted to say this before we close this thought up here, is that what I think is really cool is that reason why I wanted to go back to that, and I kept going back to it, is because today you've talked a lot about what you can do when your vial is full, right? And that's AFT. And that's why I think it's cool is that we're sharing 2 different points, is that, you are like the queen of, AFT and what to do when the vial's full. And so I think it's cool is that you shared all that. And then I just wanted to share, hey, what about if your vial isn't full, or you feel like it is getting full, right? You still do have the power in these 2 hands. Look at civilization, what we did with these 2 hands, right? So you can still get out of it, and do it yourself, which is the most empowering thing, right? If that vial is not full, right? So that's what I wanted to share, was that, for any viewers that say, aren't at a point where they're like, well, I don't feel like I have an implicit, then just take action. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
I like that.
Yeah, because there's stuff that you're able to do, but then that's where what's so great. There's not a lot of the world though is in that state. They're either just feeling the motivation and then they take action, which is like that 1%, but the other 99 are people that they're way past the motivated phase. And that's why, so I'm aware that when I say this, I really am talking to a select group of people that I can look at and say, just take action. And I can tell you a lot of them are 22 and under, because they haven't experienced enough of having a spark and not reacting. So that's what I think is cool though, is that, there might be 1 or 2 viewers that aren't in a place where they're like, well, I don't feel like I need to, go too extreme with like the AFT yet, but I just need to, and it's like, okay, well then you have your options. You have the be honest with yourself and quit and give it a break and then come back. Because it's like a fire. It burns and then there's all that ash, right? And it's even harder to kind of like relight it, especially once those coals are all out, right? Let the wind blow, clear out the fire pit, get all the ash out, all that, and then relight it again. So, but I think it's cool how we're sharing that. You're sharing how to, when the vial's full, you're set, and then when the vial's not full.
Well, I think that's really great, Preston, because if we don't set our own goals, and this is true, especially for the young people nowadays, if you don't set your own goals, then you'll simply live out the goals and dreams of others and drift through life without ever claiming what you really want.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of drift around.
I mean, I don't think somebody wants to work at 7-Eleven for the rest of their life. I mean, I really don't think so.
No, but and they don't. And what's weird is that society, though, is set up for you to just drift around and float around. It's easy, for most people, unless you're in a different situation. For the most average American, you are born, you go to grade school, you go to middle school, you go to high school, you go to college, you get a job, you meet a girl, you have kids, you raise your kids, you pay off your mortgage, and then you retire. That's pretty laid out and pretty simple. It doesn't take a genius to do that because it's all laid out for you. So you're working against a system that is completely laid out for you. So no wonder your subconscious is like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you going against this? The body is trained to survive, and whatever is the easiest move, it's why the body wants to be fat and out of shape. It wants to have that body fat to hold on to for survival. It doesn't want to go work out and train and get stronger, or ask for that promotion because it's going to be more work, even though it's your passion and it's going to give you more income and more fulfillment. The body doesn't care. It just wants to be comfortable. And so I feel like you're right. Nobody wants to go and work at the 7-Eleven, but do they? A lot of people. Why? Because that's the way the system is.
That's awesome, Preston. I think we're really
so that's something to just always keep in mind.
Well, because
it really empowers you when you realize that. Wait, I'm playing chess, and now I'm turning it into checkers. Like I'm literally taking a game that's supposed to be played this way, and I'm flipping the board upside down, and changing the pieces from king, queen, bishop to checkers. Like I'm playing checkers on a chessboard. That's pretty empowering. It's crazy. It looks crazy, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" But carve my own path.
I wonder where you got that from. I believe before we close here too, I want to remind everybody out there, I believe we all come wired with an inner idea or vision. And when you never realize what that vision is, kind of what we were talking about, working at 7-Eleven, because of your early experiences have taught you it's dangerous. You're taught to avoid pain, like you said. We're disconnecting from our fulfillment and who we truly are.
Instinctual yearning to find.
And that is instinctual. That is the only reason why we are still here, because it is wired in. So when we're not flipping the chessboard, Preston, we are actually going against our innate programming.
Evolutionary programming. To be the best and survive and to.
Yes. We were actually going against it. And anyway, maybe we could do
another podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say
about like evolution
and maybe what's demotivating your generation and stuff like that.
Culture and all that. Well, yeah, and a lot of it comes down to this media and how it's in psychology class they talk about it. My sociology class. A lot of it's about media and watching TV and movies and all that, and how it really gives you this false sense of living literally through the screen, and it's how societally we are becoming more and more blended with technology and all that. So that's a really good.
I think that's great, listeners. If you'd like for us to have that podcast,
it'll be more science based about like.
I think that it might help everybody out.
Not more science based, but different field of science. Here it's more about like psychology and AFT, and it'll be more about actually like technology, and the blending of it.
I think that would be a great conversation. That'll be one where you're talking more and I'm quiet.
No, I'll just get into like number statistics and different programs and apps and TV programs.
Okay, once again, for those of you who
Nerd out.
listen, the main topic is all the manifestation stuff a hype?
Manifesting and motivation, the two M's, bullshit. Discipline, take action, please, or I'm gonna have a stroke. I don't have a lot of friends because I had multiple strokes.
Sounds like the younger version of me. That's what he sounds like, to be quite honest. I'm older and calmer now.
I had a friend come to me and last thing we can close on is, I did personal training for a good bit, and had a lot of clients. So I'm used to hearing that, I want to work out. Now, this is not, obviously, this is somebody who is young, right? So not a lot of implicit memory, okay? Somebody has implicit memory. I'm not going to be this harsh. But I had a very young, 15-year-old young man come to me. Dude's in great shape, and he's like, Preston, he's like, I want to get big. I want to grow muscle. And I was just like, just work out and eat food. It just came out. I was like, just take action, and it just like comes out. Just work out.
So your dad wrote, you're going to love what your dad wrote. It's easier to go and flow with the status quo than create your own way. We've got some great remarks here from everybody. Once again, is all the manifestation stuff hype? Absolutely. On one level of consciousness, is it all true? Absolutely. But we live here on Earth, and on Earth, we are born into trauma. So we need to pay attention to our implicit memory. We need to understand that we became wired in with a life that should be fulfilled with wonder and glory, but we also have to work and take action.
Use your hands. Get into it.
That's right.
Don't stay in the motivated phase.
That's right.
Or I'll come find you. I'll pull you out of it. I'll pour water on you.
All right, listeners.
You did that to me one time. Wake up!
I did not. Why do you do that? When did I ever? Your dad is on the line. When did I ever pour water on him? Never. Threatened it.
With a hose one time.
I did. What?
Well, I kicked back here.
What happens? What is going on? I don't understand. Children hallucinate as they get older. I have decided that if I have a steak knife, I've stabbed him. If I'm across the room with the steak knife because I'm making dinner, or a butter knife, by the time he tells the story 5 or 6 years later, I said, hold still, Preston. I want to make you my target.
What story
and see if I can bullseye.
What story is more interesting, more humorous? Okay, if you had me all those acting improv classes growing up, I can just I can read a great story.
Oh my gosh. Or should we tell the stories about you tormenting me because you wouldn't wear shoes from the age of 3 to 7?
I had to run from you with the steak knife. I love you.
Okay, you guys, I think we've had it. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, thank you for watching all the manifest stuff. Hype or not, I think we've all decided motivation and manifestation. Got to take action.
Yes.
Got to take care of the stuff that's in your way.
Yep.
For the 1% that is climbing to the top, fantastic. But I want to see that number change. Next year at this time, I want that number to go from 1% to 25%. Why? Because you've been watching these podcasts and we've been showing you things that you can do. That's what we want to do for you. Yes, Preston, sire.
Oh, and the last thing is to add, but if you are, if your vial is full though, and taking action and being honest isn't working because you've been doing that for too long, then
that's right.
And then you can restart the process with a drain vial. But when that vial's full, you've used up time. Time is precious.
You can reach me at aromafreedomclinic.com or on Facebook. So once again, I want to say thank you